That's the MC's first obstacle of the evening, successfully negotiated. Mger Mkrtchyan. It's worth many, many points in a game of Scrabble, but is he good enough to take a world boxing title from Joe Calzaghe?
Well, Ian, we just don't know. He's a bit of a danger man because of that. And I think it's always hard if you're going into a fight and you don't really know who you're up against. That's a big, big problem, and that's what Joe Calzaghe has.
Well, we're calling him a mystery man, but there are a few things we do know about him. As an amateur, he was good enough to win a bronze medal in the World Junior Championships in Istanbul in 1994. As a pro, he's only lost 1 out of 19. That was a stoppage in a couple of rounds, but he has beaten the WBO's #1 contender, Freeman Barr, in 3 rounds. I mean, Joe Calzaghe's answer to that is, look, Freeman Barr's 4th division, I'm Premiership. But Joe's looked at tapes at him, and he says he's competent. He says he's better than a lot of the opponents he's faced in some of these world title fights.
He's the #1 contender. He's obviously got talent and a bit of quality. He looks strong. You know, he looks barrel-chested, and I think, you know, if he gets into it, he could give Joe Calzaghe a bit of a tough time.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to welcome the world champion from Newbridge in South Wales, Joe Calzaghe.
Well, it's the grand entrance for Joe Calzaghe tonight, making his 14th defence of the WBO super middleweight title. And we've looked through the records in all the divisions, and the only man who's reigned longer than Calzaghe is Bernard Hopkins, the middleweight. In other words, he's the 2nd longest reigning world champion on the planet. Not bad, is it?
It's not bad at all. Everything Joe Calzaghe's done has been good. It really has been star quality right from his amateur days.
He did go through a patch, didn't he, where he had injuries and his performances dropped off a bit. But the last time he fought was an absolutely phenomenal fight against Byron Mitchell, a former world champion himself. Calzaghe was down for the first time and then produced a spectacular in the second to win the most dramatic of fights. But he has been out of the ring since then. That was last June. He's only fought 4 rounds in the last 18 months, Ben. Ring rust?
Well, there could be, but just knowing the way Enzo Calzaghe and Joe, they prepare, I don't think so. I think he'll be ready, he'll be in great shape, as he always is. There could be a little bit of complacency. He's got to be focused on the opponent that's in front of him. That could be a problem.
Great reception from the Welsh crowd here in Cardiff City Centre at the ice rink, as if it wasn't cold enough outside at the moment. Here's the tail of the tape for this one tonight. Joe Calzaghe, MBE, is a month away from his 32nd birthday. Mkrtchyan is 27. He's only been a pro for 4 years. Both of them made the weight, though Joe admits he kills himself to get down to 12 stone. His words to me this week when we were talking, he's got the reach advantage here as well. Calzaghe, a professional now for 11 years, but he's only once fought outside the UK. That was in Denmark. Mkrtchyan, a pro since the year 2000. He's had nearly twice as many fights. Calzaghe boxed a lot more rounds. Good knockout percentage done at a decent level, 80%, and he's beaten 5 world champions. Joe?
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. And now, to give her personal interpretation of the national anthem of Wales, would you please welcome international soprano Cecilia Eleri Mger. Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful soprano voice of Cecilia Mger. Ladies and gentlemen, once more, good evening and welcome to the National Ice Rink here in Cardiff, Wales. Tonight's Frank Warren Sports Network, www.frankwarren.tv, and Jeff White, the premier car dealer, proudly present 12 3-minute rounds of boxing for the WBO Super Middleweight Championship of the world. Welcome to viewers watching once more, live and exclusively on Sky Sports, and to listeners on Radio 5 Live. The officials have been appointed by the World Boxing Organization and the British Boxing Board of Control. Supervisor at ringside for the WBO, John Duggan from Chicago, Illinois, in the USA. British Boxing Board of Control suit in charge is Lord Brooks of Trelawny. Timekeeper of the bell, Mr. Neil Berner from Swansea. The 3 judges at ringside this evening are Henk Adriaans from the Netherlands, Arto Ellenson from Germany, and Denny Nelson from the USA. Finally, when the action commences, the referee in sole charge this evening, taking part in his 120th world title assignment, star referee, Mr. Paul Thomas from Derby. And so, people of Cardiff, Wales, live from the National Ice Rink, this is World Championship Boxing! Firstly, introducing to you, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the white coloured shorts trimmed with purple. At the weigh-in yesterday, he scaled 11 stones and 13 pounds. He has an excellent record, 19 contests, 18 wins. 13 of those wins coming by way of knockout with only 1 defeat. He's rated #1 in the world by the WBO, presenting the challenger Mger Mkrtchyan from Armenia. And opposing him, boxing out of the blue corner, wearing his familiar black coloured shorts trimmed with white. At the weigh-in yesterday, he scaled 11 stones, 13 pounds, 12 ounces. He has a perfect, unblemished record, 36 contests, 36 wins. 29 of those wins coming by way of knockout. He has reigned supreme since 1997, and tonight makes the 14th defense of his championship, presenting the WBO Super Middleweight Champion of the world from Newbridge in Wales, the undefeated Joe Calzaghe. Once more, referee Paul Thomas will now give his final instructions. 12 rounds of boxing.
Okay, I spoke to you both in the dressing room. Do you know what I expect of you? Remember to keep your shots on the target area, no shots round the back, no shots in the kidneys, okay? Best of luck to both of you. Touch gloves. Great stuff.
This fight was supposed to have taken place in December, but Calzaghe got flu. Now, after a long break of 8 months out of the ring, that's the second longest of his world title reign. The gap between fights, by the way. He says he's excited to be back. He wants to show his boxing skills a bit here tonight, he says. How good is Mkrtchyan? We only really know that he was good enough with some looping, heavy-handed shots to beat Freeman Barr. But frankly, when we saw Barr, the WBO's #1 up until that point, he didn't look that good to us. I'm not sure what that means. Calzaghe with those fast hands. Nearly 32 now, and he hasn't lost a fight since he was wearing an amateur vest aged 18 at the European Junior Championships. Yes, that good.
Well, Robin Reid had success with looping right hands. Is that what Mkrtchyan is going to find?
Mkrtchyan from Armenia at the gateway between Europe and Asia. The town he comes from, Gyumri, was devastated by an earthquake in 1988 when he was 11 years old. fights out of St. Petersburg in Russia now. Calzaghe would just be having a look at him, trying to work him out a bit early on here.
Well, I think Mkrtchyan's been dazzled a little bit by the speed of Calzaghe.
He does have very fast hands, Calzaghe. Heads banging together a bit on the inside. Watch that, says referee Paul Thomas.
Mkrtchyan looks a little in a shell. He needs to come out and start throwing some punches.
But he's the stocky type, and he's trying to keep his gloves up and feel his way into the fight. You can't blame him for that. He looked a little bit phased. Most people felt at the weigh-in yesterday, averting Calzaghe's glaze. You did wonder whether he just might freeze a little.
Well, he looks like he's froze a bit. That jab just never out of his fist from Calzaghe.
And he's got some decent advice in his corner. Alex Yagapov was a European bantamweight champion himself, and I know a bit about producing hard, tough fighters in St. Petersburg, Russia, where his gym's based.
Well, Mkrtchyan has to get out of the way of the right jab of Calzaghe's, which is very, very sharp. Doesn't look that much ring rust.
Well, he's done 80 rounds of sparring for this with his stablemates, Bradley Price and Nathan King. Training 3 times a day for 8 weeks. Walks around at 14 stone, has to get down to 12 stone. It's a near starvation diet for him in the last few days. All Calzaghe in the opening round. Welcome back to Cardiff. Joe Calzaghe, 19 wins inside 2 rounds. In fact, his last 2 fights have ended in the second round against the inept Tocker Pudwill and the very classy Byron Mitchell, who had Calzaghe down.
Calzaghe opening round just showing his speed, lightning hand speed, very good, quick left hand getting in there as well.
Here is the second round. Calzaghe in the black trunks as if you needed the identification. Still got the matinee idol looks and driving the Swiss sports car. He ought to be an even bigger star than he is. There's a danger in just being taken for granted a bit, I think, Calzaghe. He's been a world champion now for 6.5 years. Good right hand from Mkrtchyan, who landed with a left hook as well.
Calzaghe just calling him in.
Oh, and he's got him with a left hand there, a chopping left hand. He nearly touched down there. I'm not sure he didn't, you know, Mkrtchyan.
He seemed a little off balance, but it was a good shot again. Another left hand from Calzaghe.
Can't cope with the speed, leaving himself open, dropping his right hand, and open to lefts, Mkrtchyan. Calzaghe says the adrenaline always starts to flow. He's not content to just box his way through it for that long. He seems to be straining at the leash to open up all the time.
Well, he's been out for a while. I think he'll really be straining at the leash. He'll want to get this job done.
Should Mkrtchyan technically have taken account for touching down earlier on in the round?
Calzaghe just has to be wary of walking onto something in his eagerness.
Struggling to cope with Calzaghe's hand speed. Joe leaving himself a little bit open to lefts. Winging away with hooks. He'll be keen not to give Mkrtchyan a chance he doesn't have in the fight.
Well, Mkrtchyan certainly doesn't have the variety or the speed or the quality that Calzaghe has got. But can he find a punch?
Well, of his 18 wins, 13 have come inside schedule, and all those 13 have come inside 5 rounds for Mkrtchyan. But not sure about the quality of the opposition. Nearly all the fights have been in St. Petersburg against names that mean, well, frankly, nothing. He went to Florida in America to beat Freeman Barr. Wading away a bit wildly, Mkrtchyan, and missing an awful lot. Will need to pick his punches better than that. Signs of desperation from the Armenian there.
But he does look physically strong, Mkrtchyan. Can he get a shot on? That's what he's trying to get. Calzaghe, the hands are a little bit low for me as he's coming forward.
She's not looking that compact as he does it, but he's winning the rounds all right. There have been a count for Mkrtchyan in the last round. Did he touch down with his glove under a Calzaghe attack? Well, check for yourself here.
Well, there's a nice little uppercut going in there. There's a bit of a push from Calzaghe. He does touch down with the left hand.
So there should have been a count.
Yep, there certainly should have been.
Would have only been a flash knockdown, but we're talking about the Queensberry rules here, ladies and gentlemen. Black trunks Calzaghe. Round 3. 36-0. Calzaghe, the invincible in pursuit of the unpronounceable, perhaps here.
This is nice. Calzaghe just standing off, giving himself a bit of space. Maybe not trying to rush it too much.
Calzaghe, who says this almost certainly is his last fight at super middleweight. The plan is to go to light heavy and maybe ensnare the IBF champion Glenn Koff Johnson, who's recently beaten Britain's Clinton Woods for that title. That should be a relatively easy fight to make. Certainly easier than trying to get Roy Jones or Antonio Tarver, who are due for a rematch under the Don King promotional banner soon.
Well, we've got to hope Calzaghe's last fight at super middleweight hasn't been that hard a task to make the weight, that it takes something out of him.
Well, I think it has been a hard task, but it has been for 4 years, Glenn. I think but for the 24-hour weigh-ins, he'd have had to give up this title 3 or 4 years ago. Gives them a chance to rebuild the strength between weigh-in and fight. Probably nearer 13 stone on the night.
Having the odd success, Mkrtchyan, whose right hand got through.
But basically being outspeeded by Calzaghe so far, and heavily outworked as well. But he's done better than Calzaghe's last 2 opponents anyway, just by getting to the 3rd. You do get the feeling here though with Mkrtchyan that he's in about 40 fathoms deeper than he's ever been before, don't you?
Well, it's a tough one, but it is a great opportunity for Mkrtchyan. Most East Europeans, they come to fight.
And you're right, he does look stocky and strong, doesn't he?
Well, he does look, he looks very physically strong, and Calzaghe a bit more wary in this round and committing himself. So maybe he felt that strength a little bit.
Calzaghe's managed to stay injury-free in recent times, but he used to have a lot of hand and elbow problems for a year or 2 earlier on in his career. So you'd hope that nothing like that was to happen to him, with exciting plans afoot this year, including a trip to America at last.
The return of fights.
But still, with work to do here tonight. In the black trunks, Joe Calzaghe. Been hanging around a long time with this championship since he floored and beat Chris Eubank in 1997. Right hand from Mkrtchyan, good shot.
Mkrtchyan just posing a few problems, isn't he? Calzaghe just seems that he doesn't know how to get to him. He doesn't know how to break through this little shell.
I was talking to Joe earlier on in the week, and he was saying, having looked at the Mkrtchyan videos, that he was quite awkward. He's just trying to soften him up, using that fast southpaw jab and then whipping the left hands when he can. I wonder if he just hurt his left hand earlier on in the fight. I saw him shake it at one point. He's not using it that much, is he, at the moment?
No, well, he has had a lot of hand trouble before this. so it could have a problem.
Use it there, all right, so maybe there's no crisis.
Well, maybe he's just having a rethink of how he gets in, how he tries to prise apart the defences of Mkrtchyan.
Coming out. Right lane, no shot.
Sharp right hand there from Calzaghe. He's got a big edge in hand speed, which can be blurring at times. But he does need that career-defining fight, which just won't happen at the moment for him. Mkrtchyan turned him quite neatly. He's a bit unfazed by it all, doesn't he, Mkrtchyan? And the longer it goes, I think the more he might grow in confidence.
Well, he will. Calzaghe has to really hit him with a good shot and hurt him. The left wasn't bad. But he comes back with these looping rights, and you know, I said earlier, Rob Reed gave Calzaghe a problem with that very same punch, and he just has a few problems with it here with Mkrtchyan.
Mkrtchyan, who holds the WBO #1 ranking, but I'm not sure how much we should read into that. On the independent rankings, he's down as low as 40. So on paper, this didn't ought to be one of the bigger tests for Calzaghe. You wouldn't think so anyway. In fact, I saw one bookmaker this morning, Glenn, had this 66-1 on Calzaghe to win the fight.
Well, that's amazing, isn't it, when there's just two guys in the ring.
They wouldn't give you any more than 12-1 Mkrtchyan, man. Oh, they give it away, don't they? Just looking to line things up behind the jab and getting quite steamed up, Calzaghe there. Welcome back, Calzaghe. Can't look sparkling every time, but made good use of the jab in that last round, and over the fight in total, 30-2 in his favour, Glenn.
Yes, he's working well with that jab, just as he tries to find a way in to get the left hand in. He did once or twice.
Fifth round. The Armenian, Mger Mkrtchyan, still looking quite strong. But outspeeded, outworked, needs more if he's going to have a hope of ripping this title away, unless he lands with one jackpot punch and causes some real drama. But Calzaghe has got a great chin normally. Only down the once in his whole career. That was last time against Byron Mitchell.
Well, in Mkrtchyan's corner, they were reading him the riot act. They were really getting annoyed at him between rounds.
I'm sure they've made the point to him, come on, this is your big opportunity. Another one isn't just around the corner if you don't do it tonight. He is getting outboxed by Calzaghe, isn't he?
Oh, very much so. But he's still there, and he still poses a threat. And Calzaghe, the camp will not be happy until he's out of there.
Just softening him up behind that jab. See if he can work openings off that, Calzaghe, thinking on his feet. It's one of the most impressive things about Joe is that he can mix it, as he did with Byron Mitchell, or box if he has to.
Well, he's given Mkrtchyan a boxing lesson in this round. Excellent leads and terrific counters.
Complacency would have been a danger, I think, with a fight like this against an opponent who's so little known. But by all accounts, the sparring was good and the preparation was good as well. He takes a very professional attitude to it all. But it is high time they saw him in America, isn't it?
Yes, I think that's what we're waiting for, really. So he's put out on the American stage.
He wants to do that himself this year, even though he does have a bit of a fear of flying. It's not Dennis Bergkamp-like, but he doesn't like planes too much. Nice left hand on the counter from Calzaghe, and another left to follow it.
He's starting in this round to break Mkrtchyan down a little bit. He's found him a lot more frequent.
No head movement from Mkrtchyan, who's outspeeded all the time. Just using a southpaw jab to line up punches, Calzaghe. He's going for a steady erosion job, I think, Calzaghe here, and it's working at the moment. I don't think Mkrtchyan's run around so far. It's not as spectacular by Calzaghe, but he's certainly getting the job done. And let's have a look at the list of all-time world title fights by British boxers. Chris Eubank at the top with 24, the now retired, sadly retired, Lennox Lewis with 18, Nassim with 17. I don't think he's going to add to that. I think he might have retired without telling us. Nigel Penn 16, Joe Calzaghe 15 tonight. It's 15th tonight, so he's right up there. Johnny Nelson just behind him on 14.
Well, good skills he showed in that round, really did. The jabbing was good, the counters were excellent. He's got the speed, really. You know, any mistake that you make, he just gets you straight away.
Sixth round, Calzaghe, who says he reckons that he's got about 3 years left at the top in boxing. He's done pretty well from the sport. Quite content though to stay in the valleys of South Wales with their wife Mandy and the boys. Affable, likeable man out of the ring, Calzaghe. Always approachable, no pretenses, no airs or graces. And probably the only boxer in the world with a singer-songwriter as a trainer. His dad Enzo.
Well, he's having to think in this fight, Calzaghe, because it's not easy to get to Mkrtchyan. You know, he's strong, he's solid, and you know, Calzaghe doesn't want to commit because Mkrtchyan can come back with something.
But what has Mkrtchyan got to win this fight or threaten, Glenn?
Well, he hasn't shown anything yet, has he, of anything that he can win with. But, you know, it just takes one punch.
Well, there is always that, yeah, but at the moment you'd have to say he's looked a bit slow and plodding and short of ideas.
Well, it's hard to get anywhere near Calzaghe on points because he is so quick, so technically good.
Calzaghe is just doing a cool, clinical job at the moment against a man who's showing good resilience, is obviously tough, can take a shot all right. But what can he do offensively here?
And at this level, you can't just go in and take everybody out.
Nope, I agree.
You know, there's tough guys out there. They're not in there unless they're good.
He's forced long distances before. Calzaghe, you think of people like Rick Thornberry.
Right. And go.
Certainly this fellow's a bit better than the likes of Tocker Pudwell, who was absolutely hopeless a few defences ago, and Kidfire McIntyre, as he was called, more like Ceasefire McIntyre, we thought.
The problem Mkrtchyan poses is he's cagey, you know, he comes back with shots.
He's winning all the rounds, Calzaghe, but can he break this man up? Just trying to raise the tempo a little, you sense here, Calzaghe. Just the odd success for Mkrtchyan, but very sporadic. He looks in too deep unless he gets lucky with one. Everything to Calzaghe so far, surely beyond argument, but maybe Adam Smith and his guests know differently.
I don't think so. Joe Calzaghe, Nicky, winning this well and breaking his man down, but no easy blowout.
No, I think he quickly realised Mkrtchyan was a tough opponent and tougher than he probably expected. And I think he's boxing quite beautifully. He's doing the right thing, if the stoppage comes, it comes, but if he gets 12 good rounds, then so be it.
What of Mkrtchyan? We've seen 6 rounds of him. He sort of crab-like covers up, doesn't he? Any dangers?
He knows what to expect from Joe. Joe's fast, he's powerful. Joe needs to feed Mkrtchyan with a little bit of confidence, so he comes onto him and opens up a little bit more to make the job easy for himself.
He's working behind his jab. Can he soften him up and stop him?
I think probably a late stoppage here looks on the cards, but I think he's boxing very well, no criticisms here.
Can he, Johnny?
Oh, definitely. I give it about round 10.
Round 10. Back to you, Ian.
Thanks, boys. Exciting times in world boxing. We're hearing about Oscar De La Hoya maybe moving up to middleweight. Well, he is moving up to middleweight in June and maybe fighting Bernard Hopkins in the autumn. There's the Mosley Wright fight coming up on Sky soon. Maybe even the return of Felix Trinidad we're hearing later on in the year. Joe Calzaghe, probably with an argument for being in the bottom half now of the top 10 of pound for pound in the world.
Well, he needs to get on that American stage, really, to push his claims forward, doesn't he? And I think that will really increase his popularity.
Just looking to box his way to victory tonight. That's a big right hand. It was fast and sharp. It's hurt Mkrtchyan. He is hurt by that one. Wanted to cover up. Now he's beginning to get to him. Left hand, Mkrtchyan goes down under the barrage. There's the breakthrough for Calzaghe. Is he going to be able to get up from that? Very slow to his feet here, Mkrtchyan, and looks a bit unsteady, and he's stopped. It is all over. In the 7th round, Joe Calzaghe retains the title. He broke him up, then he floored him, then he stopped him, and he's still the champion. And if that was his last fight at super middleweight, he did it in a very satisfactory fashion.
Yeah, he did it very professionally, Ian. He went about his work so good. To his wife and his boy there, very proud.
Well, he's got 2 of the boys, I think, here tonight. 14-year-old Cole and Joe Jr. watching that in action. Mkrtchyan didn't give him too many anxious moments. He just pounced on him, almost with the instincts of a jungle cat. Once he got through, suddenly it was all over, wasn't it?
Well, he knew he just had to soften him up. He had to bring him out of his shell, and then finally he'd get through with a shot, and that would be the breakthrough. And he got that with, I think it was a good left hand. And then he piled the pressure on, and that was it. That's the way. He's a great finisher. He's a good boxer. He's got that maturity and that patience. He really is the finished article.
And surely now, Frank Warren will be able to bring him a really big fight on the world stage. This is the end of the fight for Mkrtchyan.
Look at that quick right-hand counter from Calzaghe, so quick, and just hurt Mkrtchyan then. The fight had come out and he's thinking about it. Calzaghe puts the pressure on, and it's a couple of left hands that put him over.
And he looked befuddled when he got up, didn't he? It was a good decision, I thought, by Paul Thomas to stop it.
Showing great variety, the uppercuts, the left hooks, and then the straight left hand, 2 of them to put him over. And Mkrtchyan, you know, was on wobbly legs. He didn't want to go on. He didn't want anything more of what Calzaghe has.
And I think there was another thing. He knew he had nothing to beat him with as well. He knew he was outclassed.
That's right. Where was he going to go? He was just going to get more of it. He just backs off then, dips his head, signaling to the referee, really, that, you know, that he didn't want to go on.
I think the truth about this was it was all about levels, and Calzaghe is 3 or 4 divisions above the likes of Mger Mkrtchyan of Armenia.
He's top-notch. He's up there with the best boxers in the world, and we want to see him on that world stage.
Was Mkrtchyan good enough to be in a world title fight? Well, I don't think he was, really.
Probably not, but he was the #1 contender, and that's who he's got to fight.
Okay. Here it is officially.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 1 minute and 5 seconds of round number 7, referee Paul Thomas has stopped the contest. In his opinion, Mger Mkrtchyan was in no position to continue. Your winner, and he is still the WBO super middleweight champion of the world from Newbridge in Wales, the undefeated Calzaghe. Round of applause, please, for the brave challenger Mger Mkrtchyan. The World Boxing Organization supervisor, Mr. John Duggan, will now present the world title belt to the winner. He is still undefeated, Joe Calzaghe.
Unbeaten in 37, a cool, successful 14th defence. Is that what it was? Just a mature, taking your time, using the jab and softening him up?
Well, I told you, some opponents, you know, I tried to box a bit more. I got good boxing skills, and I studied this opponent, and you can see he was quite strong. Come with his head low and swinging punches. So if I went in that fight with the style of, say, Byron Mitchell, it'd be a clash of heads. Maybe I'd have got cut and caught with silly punches. So you know, obviously round the two, timing was a little bit off. But I think I worked my jab well, nice and sharp, breaking up the jab. And after 3 or 4 rounds, I could see it was tiring. I just enjoyed myself. You know, the first time I've been out in 7 months, I was enjoying myself. I knew 6 or 7 rounds I would finish him. I saw that he had nothing left, so then I opened up, slipped into third gear, and thankfully I finished the fight.
He was tough, Mger Mkrtchyan, but we didn't know his name beforehand. Is it the big names now that you want, and a move up to light heavyweight to tackle some of the American best? Yeah,
I think so. I think it'll be a better fighter stepping up. You know, I lose a lot of strength making the super middleweight division, and obviously Frank's here now, and he'll answer that for you. But yeah, I'm pretty hopeful. I said with three or four steps this year. This was first step. Second step, win a light heavyweight, be a two-weight world champion. Third step is the big one, go to the States, fight one of the top fighters, and so-called, you know, career-defining fight.
He wants the big fights at 12-7. Can you make them? Glenn Johnson, the IBF champion, or Antonio Tarver or Roy Jones?
We can definitely make Glenn Johnson. I've been talking to Dan Goose and his promoter, and I'm sure we can easily do that fight. That's not going to be a problem. But I think what we're going to do is Joe and I will sit down, and his dad will sit down next week, and we'll work out what we're going to do. But Glenn Johnson's definitely one that we can make.
And possibly next.
Possibly next. But we'll sit down next week and work out what we're going to do.
Big year for Joe Calzaghe.
It will be a big year. I mean, it's a shame last year there were problems and he only got the one fight in. He needs to get, as he says, he wants those big fights, and that's what will happen.
Thanks a lot. Well done tonight, Joe.
Can I just dedicate that fight to Ernie Fossey? Thank you.